Hello, hello, hello. Dr. Alan Harper again. We are on day 2 of our live secure vibe coding challenge. And thanks for joining us. What we're doing here is we're going to build a real live app over a series of sessions. I don't know how long it's going to take, probably a couple months to get it fully fleshed out, maybe sooner. Who knows? But I've decided that to tackle this problem of the user journey lifecycle. So you could see it right here. You want to attract your users, you want to qualify them, you want to build anticipation, you want to nurture them. Then once you have clients, then you want to ideate with those clients, get their ideas back from them. You want to resolve their issues, and then you want to measure their sentiment. You want to get their testimonies and amplify your audience with that. Then you want to recapture those who are ready to churn. And so, what I call this is the user journey lifecycle. And the idea is we want to get vibe signals from our users throughout the process. And then we want to be able to show analytics on that and then take action on that. Now, the first half of this is pretty well done by a lot of companies. Individual companies do this. And for example, I use Go High Level, and they are top of market in terms of these first four. The problem is they don't do the rest of it. And there are lots of other companies who do these individually, these pieces over here, but nobody's putting it all together. So I want to put it all together. So we might end up connecting into like other CRMs like HubSpot or Go High Level or others for these parts. We might end up just building our own up here. I don't know yet. But what we are going to do is we're going to start right here in the feature request part. It is a vital part of any application is to be able to take feature requests from your users. After all, that is what's most important, their features, not yours as a developer. And so what I found is I've looked out in the market and I've seen a couple companies that do that, but they are horrible. The interfaces look like 10 years old. They're just not snazzy at all. Nothing really to brag about. And then also, there's no real AI being implemented in them, just like some cursory, AI, they're mentioning AI, but no, we're going to use AI throughout. All right. So we're going to do better than them and we're going to disrupt them. All right. So, last time we talked about the infrastructure. We're going to use a JavaScript installer that developers can use to plug this software into their application. They can either do it through an npm install or just straight up script. Like we're going to host it up on CDNs, and that's cloud distribution networks, and they will be able to then download it through a CD or through a script, and then they will have a back-end dashboard where they will get an API key, and an API key will enable the front end to work. Okay, then on the back end, we will have, of course, we're going to have our landing page, and then we're also going to have signups and payments. We're going to have user analytics of our own, and then we're going to eat our own dog food, right? We're going to start with, feedback and sentiment analysis and all of these things as we start working around the cycle here. So we got quite a bit to cover, but we are just going to focus on one thing, and that is the ideate part, which is the feature request capability of our users. All right, vitally important that we get that right. Again, this is a critical requirement of any application is to be able to collect requests from your users. And I'm just stunned as a developer that it's not really being done well out there. And it's expensive. I didn't mention that either. It's also very expensive to do this. A lot of times they rope you into it's hundreds of dollars a month. It's ridiculous. A lot of that is they're trying to connect it back into Jira tickets and stuff like that, which is fine, but like that's just too expensive. All right. So we want to enable Vibe coders to get up and running, something very cost effective. I haven't decided on the pricing yet, but we'll figure that out together. And so come along with me on this journey and we'll go ahead and get started. Now, as we mentioned last time, there are some tasks that we need to do. The first thing we need to do is validate this idea before we go much further. Okay. It is my idea, but I've learned painfully in the past that you can have the best idea. And if you haven't validated that, then you're just kidding yourself and you're setting yourself up for a fall. And I know, God knows that I've spent too much money trying to promote apps that I've developed that weren't going to go anywhere. And ultimately, it's because the idea wasn't validated and people didn't care. Now, I have a really good, understanding that I know people care about this, but I want to validate what some of these other products are, and in particular, we're going to look for pain points, right? That these other products are giving their users, and we're going to make sure that we avoid those, right? And at all costs, we're going to make sure that we don't make those mistakes, right? And so this is all part of a framework that I teach in my Secure Vibe Coding Masterclass. You can see a link to that up here at the top. You can get started in my free mentoring, but then you can upgrade once inside. And the idea is that I teach this on a regular basis how to do secure vibe coding, right? And so that's vibe coding, but we're going to do it securely. All right. So let me just show you what we're talking about here. This is part of my broader framework. All right. So what we're going to do, and this applies to you. So if many of you are applying or watching this video and you're thinking about getting into vibe coding, you don't want to build the app that I'm building. I mean, you can, but what I want to do is teach you the skills that you can then go and apply on your own app. All right. And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to join or start a group. Okay. And you're going to need to start finding users around this use case or this problem that you think that you're trying to solve. You're going to listen to that group. You're going to find out what their problems are, and then you're going to set out to solve those problems. And that is what all of business boils down to, is an exchange of value. And that is defined by solving one's problem for another, solving another person's problem. That's how we exchange value in a business context. The bigger the value is, the bigger the problem that you solve. And said another way, you will be compensated according to the size of the value that you deliver, or said another way, even according to the size of the problem that you solve. Okay, so you want to be listening for big problems that other people have, hopefully people with money have. And then if you obsess over their problem more than they have, and they realize that, they come to know, like, and trust you, they will eventually realize that you have solved that problem and they will throw money at you. And so that's what we're after. All right. I've seen this. I've done this. I've lived this. I've built and sold applications in the past, and we're going to do it again. All right. So you want to join or start a group and find that initial problem, and then you want to prototype it out. You can use a no-code tool like Builder.io. You can also just use straight up Claude Code. That's what we're going to do. And then you want to put in that initial prompt. All right. You want to put some security context even up front when you first start doing this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use what's called the Secure Vibe Coding OS that I've developed, again, for my mentoring group, but it's out there on GitHub, but I teach how to use that inside of my training. And that gives you a secure baseline so that you're not starting from scratch. And then you can rest assured that now that you have the basics taken care of and you're starting out, you're already in the top 5% of applications out there in terms of hardening and security. And you can rest assured of that, and I've already taken care of that for you. But then what you have to learn is how to maintain that high level of security so that you don't open something up in the future. Like, next month when you implement a feature, you don't want to put a hole in the side of your application in terms of cybersecurity. So again, I teach that in my mentoring groups, and we will be covering a lot of that as we go here too. All right. So then once you put in that initial prompt, it's going to give you a preview. And then you're going to want to refine that prompt, and you're going to do this iterating a couple times, and we're going to come up with what I call a minimal viable demo. Okay, and that minimal viable demo is not a product. It's not a minimal viable product or an MVP, as a lot of people say. No, it's just a demo. And the idea is we want to demonstrate a few features, just a handful of features, sometimes just one killer feature that defines our product and demonstrates value. We want the minimum amount of features to demonstrate the value in order for somebody to pull out their credit card. Okay, yes, eventually we're going to do everything on that wheel that we talked about before, but not in the first version. That would be crazy. Believe me, I've done that before. And you don't want to do that, all right? Because you think you know what those users want in those other areas, but let them tell you once you actually get them on board with your first set of features. That's a much smarter, much more profitable way to do it. Trust me. All right. So then once we get through the minimal viable demo, what we're going to do is we're going to set up some basic authentication. That will allow us to then communicate, because we will have the email address, and we can also put people on a wait list, and that's what we're going to want to do. And then what we're going to do is eventually take that feedback and build up the minimal viable product, right? And at that point, then we can notify everybody who is on the wait list that, hey, this thing's ready for sale, and here's where here's the link, you can come get it. All right. And then what we're going to do once we get into business, then what we're going to do is stack features from those feature requests. And then we're able to charge more. Okay. Particularly to the people who requested the feature. Okay. They won't mind paying more. Now, typically what we do though is those first users, they get locked in at a discount because they're the first users, and we let them stay at that discount. That's typically best practice. So if they come in, let's just say at $20 a month, we could eventually charge $100 a month, but those people will stay at $20 a month. And that's just a courtesy to them and a thank you to them for being your early customers. So yeah, definitely do that and take care of them. Those first customers will be with you if you play your cards right for life, for the life of this application. So you want to take care of them, right? You want to do right by them. Okay, I use Windsurf, and I use Cursor within that, and I also use Factory.ai. Increasingly, I use the Droid technology. It's a little sharper. It's starting to outpace Claude Code, and I never thought I would say that, at least anytime soon. But what you'll find about me, and I said this in the last videos, I'm vendor agnostic. So if another tool comes out here in the next couple of months, I'll be all over it. Okay, you'll be the first to know. Okay, and then we're going to use GitHub, and we're going to use Vercel, and then we're also going to set up security monitoring. Now, the items in blue here are the security implements that we're going to put in place. This is what we're all about, is secure vibe coding. Okay, anyone can vibe code, and that's the problem. Anyone can vibe code, but they can't even spell cybersecurity. So what we're going to do is make sure that you understand how to do it securely, and it can be done securely. Okay, I've been doing cybersecurity and software security for more than 35 years, right? So I can demonstrate that to you and show you how to do it securely, so that you can safeguard your users and your business, right? What good is it building an application if you get hacked? Like, what sense would that make? And you'll be out of business, just as quickly as you went into business. So no, that's not going to be us. We'll let those others out there, those other vibe coders, they can do that. No, we're going to be the ones doing it securely. Now, in order to do that, I want to talk to you about something called a security architecture. All right. We have this process called DevSecOps. Okay, it's development, security, and operations. Operations means the deployment of the application. Okay, so we could, some people have called this VibeSecOps. Okay, and I've even, I believe I bought that domain. I buy a lot of domains. I think I already have that, and you can check it out. But if that term gets popular, then I'll spin up that domain, VibeSecOps. And the idea is that increasingly we're using AI to do the development, right? And that's why we're here doing vibe coding. But we can't forget the security part and the operations part. If we're going to make a living out of this application and we're going to deploy it in a real production environment, we need to separate our environments. And I'm going to recommend that you have three different environments. You have a development environment that's on your laptop. You have a test environment, that's a server in the cloud typically. Doesn't have to be, it could also be on your laptop, but typically that's in the cloud. It looks a lot like production, but it's not production. And then you have a production server, and that is separate. And each of these are separate. Okay. And what I mean by that is the production has a separate set of keys in it. It has a separate set of data in it. It has your user data in it. You don't have your user data in your development and your test environments. Okay, that's best practices to separate those so that if the development environment gets hacked, like if your laptop gets hacked, right, and they get those keys, that then they can't log right into the production. All right, so that would be best practice. Now, we do all of this through GitHub, and what we're going to do is we're going to set up branches for each. Okay. And then those branches, then we will link them into Vercel, and Vercel will then give us those environments. Now, really, we don't need, yes, that's the way we'll do it, just like that. What I was starting out to say is the development one, is just on our laptop. We don't need Vercel for that. But for the testing and the production, we're going to need those linked in through GitHub branches into Vercel. Okay. Vercel is a cloud distributed network, or what's called a CDN, and they take care of all of the server stuff for us. And this is sweet because this is part of the cloud revolution that we don't have to manage servers on our own. And that's a wonderful thing. Trust me, the last thing we want to do is manage IT as well as development. Okay, so what we can do is use their cloud infrastructure, and they even have something called serverless technology that allows it to scale without physical servers. Okay, so it all runs in memory, and we don't need to understand all of that. But the idea is that what they do is they break our application up into small chunks. Each function gets its own little instance in memory, and they spin all that up for us, and they can scale it infinitely. Practically speaking, they can scale it out just about infinitely. So which means that you won't overrun this with users if you do it right. And that's, again, a blessing, because in the years past, you would have to kind of calculate out how many users you had based on the hardware that you had and the RAM and all that. You don't have to worry about all that anymore. Now, yes, it will cost you more as you scale up, but that's very cost effective than having servers sitting around that you're underutilizing, and they're getting old and getting outdated. And in the old days, you might have to go buy a rack of servers, right, and set them up in a data center somewhere. And by the time you even got enough customers to pay for those servers, they're outdated, right? So now we don't have to handle about that. We don't have to handle about software or hardware or data centers. We just let these cloud providers do all of that for us. All right. And Vercel will give us a firewall. Right. So in front of our application, like if bots are attacking us, and there's several types of attacks that we'll get into in future videos that come from, the internet, and that firewall can help, stave off a lot of those attacks. And then it will give us the UI interface that we can actually deploy to, whenever a user comes to our website, they will run the code. It will actually be JavaScript, but they will run it in their browser. All of that code will be hosted out of Vercel, and then the back end will all be managed through APIs, application programming interfaces. Okay, and they will handle all of that for us. All right. Then they also have something called middleware, which allows us to. It kind of sits between the UI and the API, and we put a lot of security in our middleware. Okay, so we put a lot of rules and a lot of checks and things like that inside of our middleware, and that way we can implement it in one place and not have to put it in many places in our application. And again, AI will do all of that for us. We also want logs, and they will handle logs as well to a certain degree, but then we're going to have to push those to external servers. I use Axiom for that, and that's a free service. And then we're also going to be making external calls to like AI models and different services that are out on the internet, and we will use their APIs, and we will make calls to those external APIs. There's something called a webhook. A webhook is like the opposite of an API call. An API call is outbound. A webhook is inbound. So sometimes what we'll do is we'll set up a webhook, which is basically a socket that we're listening on the internet. And if someone connects to that webhook, then they can push us traffic and content, and we will parse it. And the first thing what we'll do from a security perspective is we'll identify the source of that and make sure that it came from who we thought it's supposed to come from, and we'll block everything else. Okay. Again, these are basic security implements. Okay, we will use AI models. I recommend OpenRouter. It's like a one-stop shop for AI, and you can put in one API key, and then you can access all the AI models through OpenRouter. Okay, we're going to need Stripe for our credit cards, and we're going to keep our users in a separate database than our application. Okay, we're going to keep our users. This is another principle of cybersecurity. Okay, that we separate our interest. So in other words, we want the users to be managed by an identity manager. And the best one that I'm aware of, and the cheapest one, very generous. All of this is cheap and free. Everything that I've been talking about so far won't cost you anything until you're up and making money. And when you have like a few hundred users in there, then yeah, you're going to have to start paying for it. But by the way, you're making money at that point. So your bill might be, for all of this together, less than $100 a month. Okay, and you're going to be making far more than that by the time you get a few hundred users in your application. But up until that point, it should be free if you do it right. All right, we're going to keep our users in something called Clerk. Okay, and we'll set that up even today. We'll set that up if we have time. If not, we'll get to it next time. And then we're going to have our application database, and we're going to use Convex for that. Convex is the latest and greatest, the coolest thing out there. It is a very fast, dynamic, and real-time database. Some of these other databases are slow compared to what Convex is going to give you. Okay. And a lot of times, in particular, if you have a real-time app that you want like instant updates on some status, okay, then you're going to want to use something like Convex. But if you have other databases like Postgres or Mongo, you're gonna have to like use Redis, which is like a real-time caching, queuing mechanism. And that's just one less tool that we have to mess with, right? So we collapse all of that and use Convex. And there's a lot of other benefits to Convex, a lot of security benefits. Entire classes of attack or like SQL injection are no longer even possible with Convex. All right, so we love that. All right, so this is our security architecture. You need to understand that just about as deep as I've explained it here. If you want to know any more of it, then you just jump into AI and you'd say, hey, tell me about the separation of development environments. If I wanted a dev and a test and a prod environment, and I wanted to do that on GitHub, why should I do that? And what are the best practices with that? And it will explain all of that to you. You can go down those rabbit holes to your heart's content. But what I've given you is what you need at this point to move forward. All right. Now let's go down and take a look at our list, see where we're at. Okay. So we did a little bit of the tech stack discussion, but what we're going to do now is we're going to validate this idea, okay, with AI. So now we have this idea. So what we're going to do is my favorite tool for validating technology is Perplexity and Grok. Okay, Claude is good at it too. It's just that honestly, Perplexity is the best because from day one, when they started it about 2-3 years ago, they built it to be internet first, internet search first. These other tools just got the internet like this year. Okay, so that's not cool. Like these guys are years ahead, in terms of access to data, like real-time data, and they just do it better. And Grok is right up there with them. It was built from the start to have internet access, and of course, it has all of X. There's a lot of user sentiment on X, or formerly Twitter, and so Grok is going to be the best to mine that, obviously. Okay, so we're going to start with Perplexity. We're going to say, I want to develop. Let's see if we can just talk to this thing here. I haven't tried this yet. Okay. What I'm afraid of is that it's going to break my podcast sound, and I don't want to do that. Okay, let's not do that. Okay. I want to develop an app that handles user feature request. Find the tools that do that, and I am interested in the user sentiment about those tools. I want to know pricing and user frustration feedback that we can improve on for our app. Okay, I'm going to copy that because we're going to use the same thing over in Grok. All right, so I'm going to go over to Grok, tell it the same thing. And why not? We'll tell Claude the same thing. We'll kick off all three of those and let's see what they do. Okay, this is how you do it, folks. We're gonna get real-time user sentiment here. Okay. Here are the tools. My goodness, look at how expensive these things are. Just to take user requests for features, we're gonna crush these guys. $60 a month. Are you kidding me? $40 a month. And that's for basic, and pro is $79. I guarantee it, like, this has something to do with like user count. This is insane. Okay. I've used Canny and I know that it's got some issues, and it's not cheap either. Okay. Okay, major frustrations, poor dashboard. Okay. No user segmentation. Okay, interesting. You have to remember that. Okay, can be pricier than alternatives for basic features. Okay, very simple. Lacks advanced analytics. All right, we're going to beat that. No feedback by monetary value. Okay, so what they're saying there is, you know, the better apps will tell you like the lifetime customer value or LTV for that customer, so that when they give a feature request and they've paid you $1,000 already, you might want to listen. Okay, somebody else is on your cheap plan, your $10 a month plan, and they're giving you a bunch of feedback. Okay, yeah, you'll take that, but you're going to prioritize the person who has given you the highest monetary value. Okay, that's smart, right? So we're going to want to remember that. Okay, limited integrations, expensive full plans, not much data, reputation for ease of use. Okay. Look at this. This is a gold mine. Most tools praised for simplicity, transparency, and integrations. Okay, frustrations include limited dashboard control, restricted feedback. So some people are praising them for the simplicity, but most people are frustrated with that simplicity. Okay. All right. This confirms my suspicion. This confirms my reality too. I've experienced that with these tools. I knew this coming into it. That's why I've been thinking about this idea for a couple years now. But because of AI, we can pull it off. So we're going to do it. All right. Actionable feedback for your app. Look at this. Make a dashboard, allow integrations, user segmentation. Yeah, love it, love it, love it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take all that information and we're going to store that information. Okay, what I like to do is we're going to build a project over here in Claude, and I've already done that. And what we're going to do is we're going to even move. Let's see here, projects. User Vibe OS. Okay, and then, matter of fact, let's just move that one chat while we're at it. Okay, this one here, we'll move it into that project. What I like to do is keep all my stuff in a project because it just makes the AI smarter. Now, every time I chat or start a new chat, it has the context of all these other chats. Okay. So what we're going to do here is what we're going to do is inside of there, we're going to make a project, or inside of that project, excuse me. What we're going to do is we're going to, I want to add other text. Let's see, add text content. Okay, here we go. We can paste all that in here. Okay, requirements for app. For feature request functionality of app. Okay. I can't spell. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to add that. That's really good. In fact, I'm going to hold on to that because there's probably, well, we can adjust that. Pretty sure we can edit this. I hope we can edit that. Okay, doesn't look like that's right. We'll add more. Okay, it's too bad that we can't. We should be able to edit that, but that's all right. I'll add another one. All right, so that's from Perplexity. Let's see what Grok said. Okay, look, it found the pricing. Look, it's not cheap. Okay. User voice. The other one didn't pick up on that one. It did pick up on Savio. Okay, so we're starting to see some correlations here across them. Again, very expensive. $59 a month, $39 a month, $800 a month to start out with. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Like, what are they doing? We're going to crush them. Okay. User sentiment, frustrations and feedback. Overall sentiment. Highly rated for simplicity. Okay. Key frustrations. UI changes feel forced and confusing, leading to brain freeze. When buttons move without customization options, users miss old layouts. Okay, you have to remember that. Feedback often goes unacted on, demoralizing user. These are user feature request tools, and they're not eating their own dog food. Oh yeah, we're coming. We're gonna crush these guys. Okay. UI feels complex and unusable. What's cool about this is we even have links to where like we can like go look at these comments, but there's really no need to. Love it, love it, love it. Put all of this into a feature or into a list of features I can implement to solve these users' problems. Okay, let's see what Pod came up with, even its own first list. Okay. All right, it found the pricing. Oh man, I'm telling you, Perplexity like starting to slip. And I use it first. These other two tools found the pricing. Look at this, $660 a month. You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me, folks. And I've used this tool. It's nothing to write home about. The features of it are just boring. It's a very crude interface. They don't even, their documentation doesn't even match what you get. I just put it that way. I'll leave them alone. All right, but we're coming. Okay, similar tools. It looks like I'm seeing the same names. Okay, pricing issues, growth penalties. Users are penalized as they succeed. Okay, a lot of times they track user count, and as you grow, you run into a cliff where you went from $20 a month to $600 a month. Like that's not cool, right? And once you've got this fully implemented in your product, by the way, it's hard to get something else in there because you got all this history, you got all these comments. What are you going to do with those? These tools don't make it easy to export, by the way, and that's probably one of the complaints in here. If not, it should be. Okay, look at this. Better support. Live chat. Users hate phone only support. I'm actually surprised they even have phone only support. Most places don't nowadays. Mm. Pricing sweet spots. Okay. All right. We can do better than that, folks. All right. And market positioning. Okay. Good stuff. Okay. Put that in a doc or a list of features to implement to beat the competition. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. All right, look here. Here's that list that we asked for. All right, so we're going to take that. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up my notepad here. And I'm going to get a note going. And see how I can share this down with you guys. Okay. All right, so all right, we got that one. All right, so put that into at least a list of features. Okay, they did it. Okay, let me grab that. Okay, it's going to be messy, but that's okay. AI can handle all that. Let's go back and get the perplexity list. This is how you do competitive analysis, folks. You let AI do it for you. This would have taken weeks, if not months, done properly in the past. Okay. And we're moving like we have a team of 100 people working for us. Welcome to AI. All right. So there we go. Then what we're going to do is take all that. And what we're going to do is we're going to upload that in our project. We're going to get rid of that other one. There we go. More than enough here to chew on and to feed to our AI models later when we build prompts. Wonderful. So happy with that. Okay, glad we did that. All right, moving right along. Where are we at? Okay. Now I want to emphasize something here. Yes, we have validated this somewhat with AI, and we could spend more time doing this, but I already know this is a hot idea because I come with years of experience and frustration about it myself. But I challenge you, if you don't have that kind of warm and fuzzy about this space, then you need to dig in and you need to go like read some of these articles. You need to get in the trenches. And then ultimately what I would do is I would ask these AI tools, hey, where do these users hang out at? Like what Facebook groups are they on? What Discord channels are they in? And I would go join those and I would just lurk around and I'd listen to those pain points. And I would, after, adding value, you don't do this on day one, but after hanging out for a month or so, of adding value and answering other people's questions, you become known as someone who's producing value in the group. Then you start to agitate and say, hey guys, what are the problems here? Like I'm noticing this, and this. Are you guys seeing that? Like, is there a good tool out here that does all of this well? And And you get them, they'll tell you, they'll say, no, we tried this one, but it sucks, and we tried this one, it's got these problems. And then you just twist the knife a little bit, as we say in marketing, and you agitate those problems and you get to the real pain that these users are expressing. And then what you do is you say, okay, all right, thanks, guys. You know what? I'm a developer. I'm going to go off and see if I can cook something up. And you guys stay tuned. I'll be back in, a few days or a week or two, and and I'll have something for you guys to chew on. All right, think about. And I appreciate your help whenever I come back if you give me some feedback. And they will do that. Okay, people like to help people. Particularly, you're not asking for anything. You're not asking for money or anything. You just want feedback, right? And if you have a really, if you're not getting the feedback out of a group, another trick that I've seen work well is you basically announce after being in there and providing value for a bit. Hey, look, I'm thinking about building an app that does X, Y, and Z. I heard you guys talking about that. Would anybody volunteer? Just for 15 minutes to just give me a data dump of your frustrations around this topic. I'd love to interview you just one-on-one, for free. And man, you'd be surprised. 10 people raise their hand and say, yeah, I'll take that call. And man, you record that session with AI, use otter.ai, or I like Fireflies, or use read.me, or you use all these different AI tools. And what it'll do then is you can analyze all those transcripts and you can get this summary of those pain points like we just did. And that's even more valuable because you're hearing it from the user's voice. Okay. All right. But we're not going to do that here. Again, I know that this is a valid problem. All right. So now we just validated it, these pain points, and there's a whole lot more behind that if we wanted it. All right. So don't skip that step, folks. Trust me. Will cost you tens of thousands of dollars later. Okay, particularly if you build something and no one's coming and you start pouring marketing money on it, that's how you go broke. Okay, so now we talked a little bit about the tech stack. Well, let's set it up. Okay, we talked also about the security architecture, and what we're going to do now is we're going to install the Vibe Coding OS. Okay, now what I have done for you is I have developed this open source tool here called Secure Vibe Coding OS. You can find it out on GitHub. Just search for Secure Vibe Coding OS and you'll find it. Okay. And the cool thing about it is it's free. And what I did was I forked this guy's library. He came before me and I'm standing on his shoulders. He did 70% of this, but then I put the 30% in. I put the security in because he didn't do much with security. So together, it's a pretty compelling baseline. It's a starter kit, if you will, that you can build any web app that you're looking to build with this thing. And it will give you the secure foundation that you need to get off on a secure first step, right? And then it has guardrails in place through something called Claude Skills that when you try to veer off track, it's going to nudge you back on track, because it knows how to do things securely. And out of the box, Claude doesn't necessarily know that. So what I did was I wrote, thousands of lines of code to, instructions more so than code, but code examples too, in these skills files. And all of that's baked in. It's kind of like the heart of this thing, and you don't have to worry about it. It's just batteries included is what I like to say. Security batteries included. All right. So when you come to GitHub, I'm going to walk you through installing this. What you want to do anytime you come to a repo on GitHub, someone else's code, you want to just kind of skim down through it, and you want to kind of see what it's all about. And you could see all the stuff that I just told you about. Here's the security batteries included right here. Okay, I added all of that stuff in the middle. The other person put this other stuff in. Okay. And there's instructions here of how to install it. So we're going to follow these instructions step by step. Okay. So you can either copy this and paste it, or I'll just teach you how I usually do it. Is I come to the repo and you come up here to the top and you come down click the code down, and you click copy to the URL to clipboard right here. Okay, and once we have that on our clipboard, what we can do is we can drop into a shell. Okay, and so for example, here's a shell, and I was playing with this earlier. But what I'll do is I'm on Mac, but if you're on Windows, there's similar instructions even there in my repo of how to install this on Windows. But also in my training, I go through in detail how to get this up and running in Windows as well. If that's you, you can put it on Linux, Windows, or like I use Mac. Okay. And so you drop to a shell and you type this. You type git clone, and then you paste in that URL. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit space, and then I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it test. Test system system. Okay, because I have lots of code on here, and in fact I just put that in the wrong location, so let me move that. Move test system back one directory. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back to that. I'm gonna go into test system. Okay, and then what I like to do is fire up my Windsurf from in here. So type Windsurf and a space and a dot. That means put it right here as the working directory. Okay, so let me go ahead and get rid of this one. Okay, I'll go full screen here so that you can see it. And then what I'll do is on Mac, you hit Control Shift tilde, which is a little squiggly. And that's how you get the preview up. You can also just hit this button, or you get the command terminal. You can also just hit this button here, but I just like to use the command shortcut. And then I hit command plus, and I make it bigger so that you guys can see it. All right. Then what I'm going to do is I've already pulled it down now, and I have a README here. I'm going to right click on there and say preview, open a preview. And then I have the README that I had up on GitHub. Okay, I'm going to come down. I'm going to get those instructions right here. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do after we've done all of this, which we just did, then we want to npm install this. We're going to see how quickly we can install this. See if we can do this in the next 10 minutes. Npm install. That's going to run off and install some libraries for us. There's a bunch of packages that need to be installed. It's called Node Package Manager, npm. Okay. There are other ways you could do this. A lot of people use Yarn or Bun. If you're familiar with those, then go for it. But npm works just fine. All right, so we've done that. Now let's hit number 2. We want to copy the environmental example file. This is where we're going to keep our secrets. It's a very important file. We're going to copy it into a local copy. Now, I can tell you right now, I've already installed this, but what I'm going to do is walk through and install it here so that I'm going to show you the keys and everything. And then I'm going to delete this after this video. So, you can't hack me. All right. And I'm sure I'll end up doxing myself several times through these videos, but not tonight. Okay. All right. So we're going to make that. And what it did was over here on the side, this is why I love Windsurf, the way it's set up by default. You can see the files that it created. And if we wanted to, we could go in and we could look at this. And inside of here, now I have a plugin that kind of protects me in case I accidentally open up one of these environmental files. But typically what will happen is when you come in, it'll look like this, all right? And I have this plugin that kind of hides things by default, okay? But what we're gonna do is we're gonna follow the directions here. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna name our site. Okay, so we're gonna call this thing secure site. Okay, and then we come down here and we read these instructions. We have to go out to clerk. That's what's going to manage our usernames. And then we need to also eventually go to convex. And to each of those, you go to the dashboard. So we could click right here. I can hold down the control or the command button and click that. But I happen to already have that open for us back here. So what I'm going to do is just kind of bring this down so we can still see the instructions up here. Okay, and we're looking for these 2 environmental variables. So what we're going to do is go out to Clerk. We're going to go to the dashboard, just like it said. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hit Create Application. Okay. And let's see here. Okay. When you come to it, it will initially look like this, excuse me, when you come to the dashboard. And I already have an application in here, but we're going to create an application. And what you can do is give it a name. We're going to call it Secure Site. And we're just going to leave this by default, but this is in the future where you can come back and you can hook up all these logins. And the reason why we want to use these logins is because we don't want to manage their passwords. See, Google is much better at managing passwords than we are, right? So let Google handle the password and keep it. We just want to, ask Google if this user is legit, okay, and let them manage it. So by default, we'll just leave the Google on there, and we'll go ahead and create. This is what it looks like over here. And you can log in with Google. We're out of the box with this app. Okay, and later you can come back and make it more complicated. Okay, there we go. So we're just going to scroll down, and we need these two values right here. We're going to copy those, and we're going to put them in right here. Just highlighting over those two. I'm going to hit Control V, and right there it put them in. Okay, and I could show you these because I'm going to delete this, but these are just key values. You never want to share those with anyone, because if you share these, then you will get hacked, because somebody will find it online and they would just log into your app and take all your data. Okay, Security 101 here. Always protect your secrets, and your secrets are these keys that are stored in the environmental variable typically. Okay, so now let's go into set up our JWT. This is Java Web Tokens. This is another security aspect that allows us to authenticate our users' request on an individual basis. Okay, so we want to go back into Clerk. I'm going to bring this instruction up. Go into Clerk, go over to Configure, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to JWT tokens or templates. Just following the directions up here. Add new template. Okay, and then select Convex. From the template drop down, it tells you exactly what to do in the instructions here inside of the environmental variable or file. Okay, now copy this URL from the issuer field. Scroll down a little bit. Here's the issuer field. We're going to copy that URL. Okay, and we're going to paste it right here. I'm going to hit the show button here so that we can see it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it in right there. Okay. All right. Now we're done with Clerk for the moment. We'll come back to it in a moment. So now what we'll do is go over to Convex and get our database set up. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the dashboard over here. We can hit Command and click that, but I already have it open for us right here. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come down here. We're going to say, create a new project. We're going to call it Secure Site. Okay. Then you're going to go into Settings. And then you're going to go into Project Settings. See, I'm just following the directions up here. Settings, then Project Settings, and then go down to Lost Access. So scroll down to where it says I've lost my access. And what we want is we want this key right here. We want to copy this string. Copy that. We come back into our Windsurf, and down here in the terminal, we're going to paste that in. What that's going to do is it's automatically going to go out and it's going to fill in these values for us. It's pretty cool how it does that. Okay. It's going to set up a basic database and it's going to fill that stuff in for us. Okay. Now, so we've done the convex part here, and I'll just go ahead and show you that. What it did was it filled this in and it filled this in for us. We didn't even have to copy paste those in. How cool is that? Okay. Now, you can ignore this warning down here, this error for a moment. We'll resolve that in a moment. All right, so continuing on down. So we confirm those values are updated. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set up the convex environmental variable for next public clerk front end, and we need to put that API URL in there. Okay. We use the value from above for this next public clerk API. We want this. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that into the environmental variable over on clerk's front end. So what we're going to do is come back over here, and we come up here to environmental variables. We want to add environmental variable, and the one that we want is this one right here, and we want to paste that in, and then we want to hit save. Okay, make sure that you didn't have any carriage returns or anything at the end of that. You can always look at it again and make sure it's right. Make sure it's like not another carriage return there, because that would throw it off. Okay. All right, good. Now what we want to do is we want to generate these secrets. We need 2 secrets for our file here. And the way we generate those is with this command right here. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to open up another terminal. I just clicked right here, and I go to new terminal. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run that command, and I need a close quote on the end. I didn't copy it all. And I'm going to run it again. So these 2 secrets, again, you would never share this with anybody. I'm going to delete these afterwards. You take these 2 secrets and you plug them in right up here. You put one right here. And we take this other one. I'm just double clicking on it, and I'm hitting Control C. And then I'm going to hit show. And then I'm going to put the other one in right here. Okay, again, make sure you don't put any carriage returns or any white space at the end here. And that's just what they should look like. Okay, again, those are useless to an attacker because I'm going to delete these afterwards. But these have to be, you have to keep these secret. All right, so you're going to generate them. They're random. You're going to generate them, and then you're going to make sure that you protect these, right? And that's it for this file. Okay, so these right here, we just leave these alone right now. So what we're going to do is go back to our instructions. We just have a couple steps left. Okay, we've done all of this. We've done all of that. Great, great, great. Okay, now we're going to issue this command right here. It says terminate and reinitialize convex. Okay, so we're going to come back up here, and we had convex running here. So we're going to hit Control C, and then we're going to paste that in, and we're going to run it again. We're going to leave that up and running. Okay, that is our development environment for convex. We have to keep that up while we're in the development environment. Like when it's in production, it doesn't need that command. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we have to set up the convex webhook. Where's step number 5 up here? Okay, so we're going to go back to our dashboard. We're going to go to settings, URL, and deploy key, and then show development credentials. And we want the actions URL. Okay, and come back to this, click on our site. We go to settings. And then right here is the instructions say settings, and then URL and deploy key. And then we want to expand right here where it says show development credentials. And we want the actions URL. Take that. And what are we going to do with it? We go back to the instructions. We go to the clerk dashboard, and we're going to add an endpoint in there. Okay, we're going to go to configure webhooks and add an endpoint. This is on clerk. We're going to set up a webhook. Remember, I told you a webhook is like an open connection that we can receive messages. All right, but we're going to make sure that only convex is sending us those messages, right? And that's what we're going to set up right now. So we come back to clerk, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to configure, and we're going to scroll down to webhooks right there. Okay, and it will come up. There is none right now. We're going to add an endpoint, and we're going to paste that in there. Okay, then what we're going to do is follow the directions up here. We want to scroll down. We want to search for these permissions or these roles that we want to give that connection that's coming in. Okay, we're looking for, you see the last one there is payments. Well, we have the first 3 here are the user, created, deleted, and updated. And then we have, if we scroll up a little bit, we'll find the permissions for payment attempted. And this is up here, payment attempted, updated. We want that updated role right there. And then we hit create. And then what we're going to do is we need this signing secret right here. I'm going to click that. And then we're double clicking here, Control C. We need that. And what we're going to do, where we're going to put that, it says right here in the convex environmental variables where we were before, we're going to add this webhook secret. Okay. So go back over to convex, back to environmental variables. And what we're going to do then is, I thought we had that in there. It doesn't look like it saved it before, so we will go ahead and do both. We'll put the clerk webhook secret in there, get rid of that carriage return, hit save. Okay, and then we're going to hit add again, and we're going to put that other one back in there. That came from up here in our local environmental local. We had this right here. We're going to take that, put that back in there. Okay, hit save. Okay. Yeah, we want both of these in there like that. That's what the instructions say. In fact, down here, it actually says that. It says make sure that you have both of these in here. I'm not sure why the first time it didn't save it, but we got them now. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to set up our subscription fees or subscription rates, because Clerk's going to handle Stripe for us. And that's another reason why we're going to use Clerk, is because Stripe is a nightmare to set up, and it has a lot of webhooks that have to come back and forth. But we don't have to worry about any of those webhooks from Stripe. And they're very complicated. If you mess any of them up, then you're going to have some angry customers, because they're going to want like refunds and stuff, and you can't give it to them. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is go back into Clerk, and we're going to set up a simple subscription. We go into Clerk. At the top, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we click on subscriptions. I'm going to say get started. Okay, we're going to create a plan. Okay, and what we want to do is just call it Pro, and it'll automatically then call the key lowercase pro. You can change these if you like, but just keep it simple. Pro plan. You could describe it. And we're just going to charge $19.99 for it. You can put in annual like discounts. You can put in a free trial. You can do whatever you want. All right, we'll leave all this the same. We hit save. Okay, our plan is created. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to make sure that we enable that. It's very important. So go back to the billing page here, and up here at the top, we have to hit enable user billing, and then we're going to go ahead and hit save again. Okay, and that is it. Our app is set up. At this point, we should be able, we did that like in 10 minutes. So now what we should be able to do is take this command right here, the next one down. And we should be able to go back to our second terminal here that we had started. And it's sitting here waiting for us, waiting for a command. And we go and paste that in. And what it's going to do then is, let me make sure I don't have anything else running on port 3000. It's important, because we set this thing up to work only on 3000. So just give me a second here. Okay, there's nothing there. Okay, and I want to make sure. Okay, I think okay, with a little luck, I think we're going to run on 3000. Yeah, it did. It had that went on 3001. That would have meant that we had already run this somewhere else in our system. I have lots of screens open, but I luckily shut all those down before this call. Okay, so I'm gonna hit Command click and launch up our web page. And with a little luck, there we go. Look at that. We have a full up SaaS operational site that's ready to receive credit cards, folks. Okay, almost. It's in development mode, and we have to go into Clerk later on, and we'll put it in production mode. But like, this would have taken weeks to probably get set up. In the past, we did it in 10 minutes. Okay, thanks to this secure starter kit that I developed for you. And it's the best out there. It's the most secure one out there. And you can read the documents here. There's a folder where it actually has the security documents. and it describes that this, like all the tests that this went through, and that it's basically in the top 1% of applications just right out of the box in terms of cybersecurity. Okay, you can't beat it. All right, and then and actually ran some testing against the OWASP top 10 and proved that, and it's all in the report in the docs folder. It comes built in, batteries, security batteries included. All right, let's take a look at what this app looks like. Let's see the functionality. Okay, so this is just a basic homepage, and it shows you what it looks like on the inside. Okay, and you can just see this is just basic canned material here, but it does have our pricing plans. All right, so let's skip the pricing right now. Let's go ahead and go into login, and what we'll do is we'll just log into the free part of the site. So what we do is we go here to go, remember we set all this up, so we'll continue with Google. We'll go ahead and log in. Okay. Just like that, we're logged into our site, our brand new site, but it's secure. See, this is the most secure type of login you can have. You can actually, I take that back. You can add multi-factor authentication over in Clerk, but standing as it is, this is really secure. And all right, so this is what it looks like on the back end. Now this is just all canned data and everything, and we will get rid of a lot of this or customize it for our particular use. And you can do the same, right? This is just a starter, right? This is not what our final app will look like. This is just placeholders, okay? But this is pretty snazzy, right? It's got like this little dashboard in it, a lot of stuff. You can click it. Look at that, responsive chart, how it kind of changes over time. When you click on something, it's animated. That's really cool. And there's this payment gated feature right here, okay? And this is where we would put like if you want to add an API key for our front end, for our feature request for our tool, like this would be behind our payment gated feature. So when a user goes to that, they have to upgrade. Okay, and that's best practice. Let them come into your site and then charge them. Okay, let them get some value, maybe even for free. Maybe we let them get like a basic API for 10 users or whatever, but then they have to upgrade. Okay, so here's where they're currently on the free plan. We set this one up the pro plan, remember that? So we'll go ahead and subscribe. And right now it's in a test mode. So we can just put like fake data in here, or we can just hit this button right here. Like we can put 424242, which is like a fake credit card for testing. But we can just also just hit this button and it'll do that for us. Okay, payment was successful. And I happen to know that because I've played with this before, we just received an email that we received a payment. And how cool is that? And it's right here. It tells you the Visa last 44242. That's the test account, $19. We go ahead and continue. Then if we come back to dashboard and come back into the payment gated area, what we should see there. Took a second for it to update. Refreshed, and now we can get into the advanced features section. This would be like where they put their API key and such. Okay, so just like that, folks, look, we have a secure baseline. We have now this app is a SaaS. It can take credit cards. Again, that is a hard thing, and none of these other vibe coded apps out there, like when you go out on builder.io or whatever, you pick your choice, like Lovable, all those, none of those are going to let you like set up credit card processing. Okay, and we did that in 10 minutes. Wow. That used to take me days, if not weeks, to get right, and all the troubleshooting and the errors and all that stuff, and I wouldn't even know where to begin, how to explain all that to you. But now, just through those simple instructions, there's like 6 of them, 6 steps, and it's easy, folks. 10 minutes. And the more you do this, like you can set these up like in 5 minutes. I talked for half of that, right? Just realized I could have just click, been set up like in less than 5 minutes. I hope you appreciate how significant that is. Okay, that's like a big lift that I took off your plate, right? So now you can focus on getting down to business and making some money with this thing, right? So we have a fully functioning SaaS, and it's secure. It has a lot of stuff in it. I'll leave it to you to read through some of that content that's already in the docs folder. Like I said, here's the security architecture. It goes through how this thing is set up, like all of its defense in depth. Let me right click here and open that in preview. It's better to read Markdown in preview. And you can see here, it does defense in depth, least privilege, fails secure. It has zero trust built into it. Okay. Here's all of the things it does. It uses Clerk for authentication, which is SOC 2 compliant and certified. Okay. It uses Convex for the database. Okay. Type safe queries, prevent SQL injection. Like, man, I'm telling you, I would have charged somebody thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to do this for them before. But I've given you this for free. So I hope you see the value in that. And, here's the architecture diagrams. Like a user makes a request, it goes through all of this stuff. It gets all this security stuff. It gets rate limiting. It gets all these protections. We'll get into all that stuff later. You get all of this, security batteries included. And you won't find that anywhere else, folks. So again, stay tuned. We have much more of this. We're going to build on this platform now. We're going to start to implement our features. Even probably, I think I'll do a stream tomorrow at the same time, and I'm going to keep this up for a while. We'll see how it goes, and I will see you next time. Looks here. Oh, hey, I just noticed that. Had a comment here. This is amazing. I listen while driving, but we'll review it again tomorrow or later tonight. No Mo, thank you for that comment. I really appreciate it. And I tell you what, folks, you be blessed by the best, and I will see you next time. Again, probably tomorrow night. Stay tuned. You'll see me post on my social, like the placeholder for it. 8 p.m. Eastern is probably when I'll do it. All right. See you next time, folks.